My name is Anastasia Philimonos from the University of Edinburgh, and I'm currently undertaking my research at Karlsruhe at CKM and HVG. But I think I have to share my slides first. Okay, so just to check. Right. So the title of my presentation, Dematerialising, Rematerialising Borders, Contemporary Art Against Dividing Lines. I guess it's like an attempt to somehow communicate not only what I'm doing as part of my research exchange right now, but also like the general direction of my PhD research at the University of Edinburgh. So I would like very briefly talk about my research right now, my doctoral research, before I talk about my my work right now at HVG and CKM and how they relate to my PhD. So I'm looking at so my PhD, my thesis looks at the impact of digital technologies on the concept of the border after 1989 and how this has translated in contemporary art and curatorial practices. I would say here, like the concepts in materializing, like might not very accurately represent the complex things that happened to the border after 1989. But I would say, you know, very briefly with these terms, I'm trying to trace, let's say, a few shifts in curatorial and artistic approaches to the border. In the early 1990s, with the rise of digital technologies that were surrounded by a great exuberance, there was this idea that borders are going to, you know, eventually dematerialize. And we had again this rise of the idea of the global village as theorized in the 1960s by McLuhan. So for instance, here on the left-hand side, you can see like an example of art made in early 1990s by NSK, this very famous like project that is very, you know, palpably technophilic. We have like this cyborg figure calling everyone to become citizens of the first global state of the universe. So we have like this confluence of globalization and its technologies generating this very exuberant understanding of technology as capable of dematerializing borders to unite everyone in a global embrace. And then, of course, like this, you know, very technophilic, techno-utopian approach to technology was like very brief, lasted for a few years. Already in the mid-1990s, we had artistic practice and curatorial projects that very critically looked at what technology can do to the border within the context of techno-capitalism, let's say. But it was around the mid-2000s and mostly after the economic crisis of 2010 that, you know, the border became a very complex and difficult question in the art world. And we had, let's say, a turn in artistic practice at that moment, artists like moving away from the cyberspace to looking at the border in the material field, like more material physical field of social relations, but still, you know, a few of them maintaining a commitment to technology and what technology could do to the border. So on the right-hand side, you have like this other example, very famous again, by the electronic disturbance theater. That is an application they made that would help people who would, you know, migrants who would actually try to cross borders to locate water, a very controversial project at that time. So we had like these key moments with the border, and then again, more recently in 2010s, and especially after in 2010 with the rise of accelerationist politics coming from, let's say, mostly a right-wing field, and the answer to this politics coming from like artists, we had again like the emergence of technophilic discourses, and especially after 2000, especially after the COVID outbreak, again like this, you know, a turn to the cyberspace, of course, was somehow inevitable. So we had like this re-emergence of artistic practices looking at the cyberspace as like this space of, you know, abundance and possibility of freedom and interconnection, etc. So with this, I would go back to, and this is how I'm going to link my research to my research placement, which I'm undertaking right now for 3 months, actually, in Karlsruhe. So I would say that what is like very important in my research, and how my research right now, my placement is right now very useful to advance the material with which I'm working, is that, you know, I'm looking at spaces, you know, what are the spaces where artists try to engage the border with. Is like the cyberspace in the 19th, then the material space, then now again we have like a turn to cyberspace as a promising space for addressing the border again. And I would say that TechIM, where I'm right now, is like the perfect place to undertake this kind of research, to see how cyberspace became again the space wherein to negotiate the border, and what this might mean for contemporary art and curatorial and the curatorial. So basically my exchange is like, because you can see here is a photo of this very huge, this photo that really communicate how big this place is very big. So you can see this, like both TechIM and HFG. So HFG and TechIM are sibling institutions. HFG is the Hochschule for Gestaltung, and TechIM is the Center for Art and Media Culture. In both of them in Karlsruhe, in this same like complex premise here. And basically I'm based just like on the right hand side next to this blue box on the second floor. This is like where my office is. So I have my mentor from HFG, from the university, who oversees like my research there, but I'm working mostly from TechIM. But there's of course this amazing library there. It's a library like TechIM and HFG library. They share the same library with amazing material. I found material that I couldn't find when I was based in Edinburgh, despite the efforts that the library staff really tried to find some material and send them from different libraries to me, but because they were like very old material, no library would agree to send them to Edinburgh, but I could find them in this library because the library specialized in media art. Of course, I have like this very extensive archive at TechIM with archival material that are very relevant to my research, which I can access whenever I want. And most importantly, and which is like basically what shapes the core part of my research placement at TechIM, is that I'm participating in this basically project that is called Beyond Matter, Cultural Heritage on the Verge of Virtual Reality. This is like a huge project. It's led by TechIM, the Center for Art and Media Karlsruhe, in partnership with the Aalto University in Espoo, Center Pompidou in Paris, Ludwig Museum, Museum of Contemporary Art in Budapest, Tallinna Kunstihune, and Tirana Art Lab, Center for Contemporary Art, and is a project co-funded by the Creative Europe program of the European Union and German Federal Government Commissioner for Culture and the Media. And basically with this project, Beyond Matter, it's a very extensive project that is very research driven, but also consists of different like residencies, exhibitions in the different institutions, and basically practical attempts to create tools with which to basically like recreate past exhibitions in digital formats. So a key question in the project is, how space is renegotiated when you move an exhibition from the physical to the digital realm, and what this might mean for embodiment, experience, knowledge transmission, etc. So of course, this like poses important questions when it comes to the concept of the border. How is the border renegotiated when when it's like reenacted in a different way in the digital sphere? And what they work with, and this is like one of the things that is most important to my PhD research, they created this display you can see here. I guess this is not a great photo, but this display is called like matter, non-matter, antimatter installation. And through this display, one can experience digital recreation of these two landmark exhibitions, Le Matériaux of 1985, curated by Lyotard and Chaput for Pompidou, an iconoclash curated primarily by Weibel and Bruno Latour at CKM. So with this display, this display consists of like, let's say, a 3D mapping and scanning of parts of the exhibitions presented in these like digital environments. And because Le Matériaux, like the first example you can see here, is like a key case study of my research, is really where let's say it's one of the exhibitions that sets for the art world this idea that technology drastically impacts not only on our relationship with materials, but also on our relationship with borders. And when I say borders, I don't mean like only necessarily geopolitical border. I refer to the concept of the border overall. This could be like the border between the human and the machine. So this Le Matériaux really theorized what technology could do to the border, though not necessarily explicitly. So, after how many years, transferring this exhibition digitally, again, poses new questions when it comes to the border. So basically, what I'm doing, besides the research that I'm doing there, like using the archive, the library, looking closely at these projects, I'm contributing to the scientific publication that they're writing for this project. Is going to accompany the project at the end. It's like a very big publication. It consists of 2 volumes, and part of the publication is to compose a glossary of terms, which is intended not for a general, but like, let's say, quasi-expert audience, like an audience that has like a knowledge of this, a reader that has a knowledge of these topics. And I'm contributing with some entries to the publication, and also help with the editing of existing entries as well. So I would say this is like a very useful process for me right now, because these entries that I'm writing like are key to my research as well. For instance, I'm writing, let's say, an entry on the idea of born digital. And now I have to think of, what it means to be born digital in relation to this specific project, which is part of my thesis as well. So it helped me a lot to structure, let's say, my thinking around my research. But I would say overall it's been a very fascinating process for me here, because I had like access to this like very rich body of material at CKM, and having where I also audit a couple of courses, which are very useful to what I'm doing right now. So yes, thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, thank you for listening.